Hey everybody, welcome to Earth Science. This is your recording for today. We are going to be reviewing lesson 3.09, Environments of Long Ago. You will have a brief Google form to fill out as you are watching this video, so please make sure you complete it to get credit for today's class for participation. All right, so what are some things that scientists learn from fossils? We've talked about it for a few days now, probably for a few weeks. Remember that fossils teach us a lot about the Earth and its past and the organisms that were on Earth before we were here. Tells us about their behaviors and when they were around and things like that. So remember that life has changed since ancient times and things have also stayed the same. The age of sedimentary rock layers in different parts of the world tells us a lot about what's happened in many different parts of the world. We learned about changes in the environment. We learned about how the Earth was formed, different shapes, different land masses, and things like that. And remember that Steno's principle was something that helped us to, when we found fossils, to learn more about what the fossils could tell us. All right, student objectives today. Students will understand what a paleo environment is and how scientists discover paleo environments. Students will discover what clues fossils can give about Antarctica's past. And students will determine if Antarctica's paleo environment is the same today as it was millions of years ago. Student expectations. So each and every day, this is what I expect from you. We review these every day in class, so hopefully I won't have to go over them again here today. A look into the past. Okay, so today we're going to talk about those environments. We're going to talk about the paleo environments, okay? Environments that had existed a long time ago. Scientists are always locating and describing new fossils. They're constantly finding. Think about how much rock is across this earth, okay? So scientists have a lot of work to do, and they're constantly finding new fossils and finding out new information about those fossils. Fossils can tell us about life in the past, and they help us understand the rock layers. They even provide clues to the environment where the organism lived. Tells a nice long story. All right, so paleo environment. So I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to picture what the area you live in looked like millions of years ago. You can really quite literally picture just about anything. You can try and picture it covered in water. You can picture it as a desert, and chances are you might be right at some point or another because changes happen over and over again as time goes by. So that is what we call the paleo environment. Paleo environment is the environment that existed in an area long ago. Sometimes it's similar to, and other times it's completely different. But again, remember, sometimes it happens in cycles, right? So it can be somewhat predictable. All right, true or false? Please make sure to enter your answer into the Google form. Paleo environments are always the same. What do you think? True or false? Just talked about it. Let me see if I can do this. The answer here would be false. Okay, because like I said, let's go back one slide. Okay, sometimes it's similar and other times it's completely different. So it is sometimes similar, but it's not always similar. All right, so let's talk about something that we talked about in yesterday's class. We talked about the clues from fossils. We talked about two different types of fossils, and one of them was trace fossils and one of them was body fossils. So let's talk about these two different situations. If an archaeologist digging at the site of an ancient city found fossilized remains of corn kernels, would that be a trace fossil or would it be a body fossil? What do you think? Okay, so if a hiker stumbles over a skull in a cave, it's over 10,000 years old. Would that be a trace fossil or a body fossil? Remember that trace fossils tell us more about behavior of an organism rather than what the organism looked like or the body feature of the organism, whether it be a plant or an animal, okay? And remember that body fossil actually gives you information about what that organism looked like, all right? So, an archaeologist digging at the site of an ancient city found fossilized remains of corn kernels would be a trace fossil, okay? Let me put my picture up here. The facts, it represents an impression of the behavior of an organism, things like walking, resting, feeding. So that's why it's considered a trace fossil. A hiker stumbles over a skull in a cave. It's over 10,000 years old. The skull is going to give you a picture of either whatever animal, whether it be a person or an animal, what it looked like. Okay, it's actual parts of an organism such as bones, shells, or plant leaves. Okay. What do you think? Can fossils tell us things about the past? This is something you're going to want to make sure you put in your Google form. So A, yes, we can find out what the environment was like millions of years ago. B, no, everything has died and there's no way to find out. Or, I'm not really sure. What do you think? All right, so we reviewed this. We have been reviewing this for quite some time. So your answer here should be A. Yes, we can find out what the environment was like millions of years ago because of fossils. Studying fossils. All right, paleontologists use a variety of techniques to understand what kinds of environments existed millions of years ago. One of these techniques is analyzing. Look at Canada's environment 440 million years ago. Okay, at that time, 440 million years ago, much of Ontario was covered by a warm, shallow, tropical sea full of corals, trilobites, sea lilies, clams, and other creatures. What is Ontario like today? It certainly doesn't resemble a warm tropical sea. How can fossils provide information about a paleo environment? Okay, so I'm sure many of you have not been to Ontario. I don't even think I've been to Ontario. Or at least maybe I was there when I was younger. But anyway, I think we all know that Ontario is a landmass. It's not a giant sea, right? So it's very different than what it used to look like many, many years ago. And fossils are the things that have told us the information about what it was like before. So let's talk a little bit about Antarctica. Antarctica is not welcoming to life, right? It's cold. Lots of glaciers, it's very cold there all the time, right? It is often thought that this is an icy wasteland. But Antarctica had a very different environment millions of years ago. Let's look at the facts that we know today. Antarctica, it has an ice cap of about 4,000 meters or 13,000 feet thick. Nuts. Lots of ice, right? Antarctica has a month of complete darkness every year. Yikes. I don't know if I could handle that. During the summer, the sun shines up to 24 hours a day. I don't know if I could handle that. I would need to sleep. Land mammals cannot survive in Antarctica. Blizzards of loose snow often occur. Antarctica is a barren, frozen wasteland, or at least that's what a lot of people think. Antarctica includes the South Pole and is not connected to other continents. That's Antarctica today. Did really tall penguins live there long ago? Let's watch a video that tells you about this theory. Go ahead and pause the recording, watch the video, and then we'll talk about it a little bit. All right, by now you should have watched the recording. It was only a little bit over a minute long. Let's do a quick check. Why do scientists believe that penguins lived in the area millions of years ago based on what you saw in the recording? Is it because of A, it is so cold there, B, fossil remains were found, or C, there were duck-billed dinosaurs, so there must have been penguins too? What do you think? Let me get my pen going here. All right, so you should have learned in the video that fossil remains were found, which is the reason why they believe that penguins lived in the area millions of years ago. Thought that was kind of an interesting video. So let's explore ancient Antarctica based on scientists' findings and fossil remains and things like that. In March of 1968, a fossilized jawbone of a labyrinthodont, can't pronounce that, was found. About 110 million years ago, labyrinthodonts, a group of extinct amphibians, lived in the valleys between Australia and Antarctica. In 1986, fossils of a duck-billed dinosaur were found, along with remains of Antarctica's most ancient bird and many giant marine reptiles. The tooth of a duck-billed dinosaur was found in sands about 66 to 67 million years old. The tooth fossil indicated that the duck-billed dinosaur was a plant eater. British geologists have discovered evidence of great fossil forests in Antarctica. Wow, so really different than what Antarctica is like today, right? So what was Antarctica's paleo environment like back then? All right, ancient Antarctica. Fossil bones of a land reptile, the Lystrosaurus, which lived in Antarctica about 200 million years ago, have been found in sandstone deposits by ancient rivers. Fossil remains of ancient ferns from the same period were also found, and labyrinthodonts survived in hot or warm climates. So that's really interesting. What does that tell us? That tells us that Antarctica back then was very different, right? So let's talk about it. How could the duck-billed dinosaur tooth fossil lead scientists to believe that plants also existed in Antarctica? Let's go back for 1 second. Okay. They realized that the tooth fossil, the way that the tooth was formed, indicated that the duck-billed dinosaur was a plant eater. So, in order for that animal to survive in that area, there needed to have been plants. So there's a lot of things that you can deduct based on fossils and things that you find. List 3 other types of evidence that plants existed in Antarctica. Let's go back and look. So they talked about fossils of ancient ferns. Also, the other fossil that they found of the labyrinthodonts survived in hot or warm climates. So to me, that would indicate that there would have to be plants there. And we talked about the duck-billed dinosaur teeth. And also the British geologists discovered evidence of great fossil forests in Antarctica. So we know now that there definitely had to be plant life in Antarctica at that point. So what do you think? Was Antarctica a sheet of ice millions of years ago like it is today? I would say probably not, right? Based on all of those different findings. There were many different plants and animals that lived there. It was a warmer area, and it could have been connected to other land masses. Great job, scientists. You have just discovered that the paleo environment in Antarctica was different millions of years ago than it is today. How do you know that? Hopefully you got a little bit of information about what fossils can tell us, how scientists use fossils to find out different kinds of information. At this point, I'm going to ask you to please submit your Google form. Also, make sure you go in and review the lesson in the module. There is no graded checkpoint for this lesson, but you do have a graded checkpoint due today from yesterday's lesson, which is 3.08. And if you have not yet completed it, please make sure you complete your quiz, Unit 3, Quiz 1, which is due tonight at midnight. Any questions, go ahead and please raise your hand. I will be sitting in class with you while you're watching the video. And then I will see you tomorrow in class. Have a great day, guys.